In 1994, Nasty Nas, a talented 20-year-old MC from Queensbridge, burst onto the global stage with his masterpiece, Illmatic. Delve into the fascinating story behind his early life, exploring the influences that shaped his perspective, and the profound impact that his debut album had on the hip-hop landscape. Nas, born in 1973, comes from a long line of musicians. His father was a versatile artist, excelling as both a singer and jazz cornetist. Meanwhile, his grandfather was a performer in the esteemed group The Melodiers, crisscrossed America during the challenging era of segregation. He grew up in the Queensbridge Houses, renowned as the largest public housing project in the United States, with his mother, father, and little brother. His father, a worldly man shaped by his experiences in the Navy and a thriving musical career, regaled Nas and his brother Jungle with captivating tales from beyond the city block. These stories opened windows to a broader world, providing the brothers with a rich understanding of life beyond their immediate surroundings. Additionally, Nas's father cultivated a haven of knowledge within the confines of their home, a personal library adorned with a diverse array of books, acting as a sanctuary amid urban complexities, where Nas and Jungle spent countless hours expanding their consciousness and gaining profound insights into the complexities of the world around them. His mom was a hard-working woman who dedicated her whole life to her kids, trying to provide a way for them to stay off the streets. She worked at the post office and was known as a great cook in the neighborhood. At the age of 4, the young Nas would spend his days playing the trumpet alongside drummers outside their building. However, his father eventually intervened, telling him to pause the practice because his front lip wasn't yet mature enough and didn't want it to get adversely affected. By the time he turned 7, Nas had already ventured into new interests, waking up his brother every morning to share the rhymes he had discovered during the previous night. Only 2 years later, Nas began recording his first tapes with his best friend and upstairs neighbor, Ill Will, who also served as his initial DJ. They used to wait for Will's mom to go to work and transform her living room into a home studio. Their collaborative passion and long-time efforts marked the early steps in Nas's path toward becoming a musical icon. At the age of 12, he became a fan of MC Shen when Will made him listen to the song The Bridge, which was produced by Marley Marl and quickly became Queensbridge's anthem. Soon after, KRS-One and Boogie Down Productions released the track South Bronx, igniting the infamous Bridge War between South Bronx and Queensbridge as they debated the real birthplace of hip-hop. Heavily influenced by the music he listened to during his teens, he began to seriously contemplate a rap career. Another pivotal moment he often reflects on in his journey toward becoming a rapper is when he first heard Rakim rap on tracks like My Melody and Eric B. is President. He vividly recalls seeing his entire neighborhood in Queens engaging in a synchronized dance called the WAP, and couldn't fathom how such a phenomenon was possible. Initially, Nas found some interest in school, but as he progressed into junior high, he began to lose enthusiasm. This disinterest led to a concerning incident that resulted in his expulsion. In one of his tracks, John Blaze, he reflects on this turbulent period, recalling, "I used to pack a number 2 pencil students." By the 8th grade, Nas's academic performance took a significant hit, coinciding with his parents' divorce. This event had a profound impact on him, especially since his father departed, relocating to Harlem. Following visits to his father with his brother Jungle, and fueled by his encouragement recognizing their creative potential, Nas and Jungle decided to quit school. Choosing to focus on developing their artistic talents marked a crucial turning point in their journey. After leaving school, Nas found himself navigating the delicate balance between the allure of the street life and his burgeoning rap career. Initially adopting the nickname Kid Wave, he later transitioned to the alias Nasty Nas. a shortened form of his birth name, Nasir. A couple of years later, at the age of 16, Nas and his best friend Ill Will crossed paths with Large Professor, a prominent hip-hop producer who played a crucial role by introducing Nas to his group, Main Source. The turning point in Nas's fledgling career unfolded in the summer of 1991, when he was just 17 years old. It marked his on-record debut with a remarkable verse on Live at the Barbecue, a track featured in Main Source's LP Breaking Atoms. This significant moment not only showcased Nas's lyrical prowess, but also propelled him into the forefront of the hip-hop scene. However, tragedy struck in 1992 when Nas's best friend, Ill Will, and his brother, Jungle, were shot in front of his block. Miraculously, Nas's brother, Jungle, managed to survive despite being struck in the shoulder and leg. Sadly, his best friend, Ill Will, wasn't as fortunate, leading to a heartbreaking loss. 7 years later, in 1999, as a homage to Ill Will, Nas established a record label bearing his name. This traumatic event served as a life-altering moment, fueling Nas's growing cynicism about the world and prompting a profound wake-up call. Confronted with a pivotal decision, Nas found himself at a crossroads. The shooting forced him to reassess his priorities, leading to a critical choice between fully immersing himself in the street life, resigned to an indefinite existence in the hood, or committing wholeheartedly to his emerging musical career. Ultimately, he chose the path of his aspirations, and later admitted to sensing a guiding influence from his best friend orchestrating things from upstairs. Just a few months later, in mid-92, Nas crossed paths with MC Serch of the group Third Base. Serch not only became Nas's manager, but also played a crucial role in securing him a record deal with Columbia Records later that same year. This breakthrough came to fruition when Serch presented Nas to Faith Newman, who had actively sought him out after hearing his standout verse on Live at the Barbecue a year before. In October '92, Nas marked his solo debut with the single Halftime, featured in Serch's soundtrack for the film Zebrahead. This single not only heightened the buzz surrounding Nas, but also became the first track he recorded for Illmatic, which was included in his debut album 2 years afterward. 2 months later, in December 1992, MC Serch released his solo album. Nas's standout appearance on the song Back to the Grill further intensified anticipation for his upcoming album. Throughout 1993, Nas dedicated the entire year to crafting his masterpiece, assembling an all-star team of hip-hop producers, including Large Professor, Pete Rock, DJ Premier, LES, and Q-Tip. Nas exhibited meticulous attention to detail in selecting beats, even involving his father in playing the cornet for his song Life's a B. This commitment to perfection extended the production process to 2 years, a significant undertaking even by the standards of that era. In a later interview, he admitted that he felt like he spent his whole life crafting Illmatic, revealing he began writing lyrics at 9, started recording songs at 16, and had a wealth of material, at least in rough form, to draw upon. Finally, on April 19, 1994, Illmatic was released, solidifying Nas's status as a groundbreaking artist in the world of hip-hop. The album even garnered the exceptionally rare 5 Mics review from The Source. Illmatic wove lyrical tales that vividly painted the streets of New York into a cinematic tapestry. His intricate style, with his advanced techniques, marked a transformative shift in the landscape of hip-hop. As Busta Rhymes quoted, "What he was able to do lyrically completely shifted the climate of how the MC was supposed to rhyme." Exploring themes of crime, loss, and deep introspection, Illmatic simultaneously cast its gaze towards a potential future, a hopeful escape from the perpetual cycle. But surprisingly, despite receiving positive critical acclaim, Illmatic struggled to make a significant impact in terms of sales. In its first week, it only managed to sell 59,000 units, rendering it a commercial disappointment. This was particularly striking when compared to Nas's subsequent album, It Was Written, which soared with 270,000 copies sold in its first week. The primary reason behind Illmatic's underwhelming sales was the extensive bootlegging that had occurred globally months before its official release. MC Search and Faith Newman later revealed that they had stumbled upon 70,000 bootleg cassettes of Illmatic, a staggering 5 months before the album's official launch. However, now 30 years since its release, these early setbacks did not diminish Illmatic's significance. Despite its initial commercial struggles, the album has stood the test of time, evolving into one of the most extensively analyzed records in history and firmly establishing itself as a landmark in East Coast hip-hop. Nas, who began dating Carmen during the recording process of Illmatic, welcomed his first child, Destiny Jones, just 2 months after the album's release. Despite being just 20 years old at the time, he embraced the responsibility of fatherhood with enthusiasm and excitement. In 1995, a year later, he made an acclaimed guest appearance on Raekwon's debut studio album, Only Built for Cuban Links, often known as the Purple Tape. He was featured on the track Verbal Intercourse, marking the first collaboration of a non-affiliated artist contributing to a Wu-Tang-related album. In that same year, Nas made notable appearances on AZ's Cool G Raps and Mobb Deep's albums, contributing to the development of his emerging persona, Nas Escobar. The first time he officially adopted this nickname was on Mobb Deep's 1995 track, Eye for an Eye. Mobb Deep, a rap duo from Queens, consisted of his childhood friend Havoc, who he met in preschool and hung around in the neighborhood during their teens, and Prodigy, who he had previously encountered during a rap battle in New York's Queensbridge housing project. A year later, they would appear on Nas's follow-up album, It Was Written. His record label, Columbia Records, inspired by the commercial success of artists like Snoop Dogg and Dre on the West Coast and Biggie and Puffy on the East Coast, made a strategic move and told Nas to embrace a more mainstream appeal with his second album, resulting in his hiring of Steve Stoute as a manager. In 1996, he made a conscious decision to collaborate with Lauryn Hill, who was coming off a huge buzz with the Fugees, to create the iconic track If I Ruled the World, produced by the Trackmasters and Rashad Smith. This song served as the lead single for his second album, It Was Written, and quickly became a commercial success, as did his second single, Street Dreams. Their popularity transcended platforms, captivating audiences on MTV and radio stations across the nation. However, the last single of the album, The Messages, sparked a feud between Nas and Tupac. The lyrics, "Fake thugs, no love, you get the slug," were interpreted by Tupac as a direct diss towards him. In response, Pac recorded Against All Odds, accusing Nas of biting his style with lines like, "This little guy Nas thinks he lived like me. Hey Nas, your whole damn style is bitten." This inevitably led to their infamous face-off in New York at Bryant Park, where Nas and Tupac, along with their crews, confronted each other at the after-party of the 1996 MTV Video Music Awards. This could have turned into a bloodshed, with approximately 30 to 40 young soldiers on each side. On one stood Tupac with his death row entourage and his New Jersey-based Outlaws crew, while on the other was Nas, supported by his Queensbridge army. Fortunately, as Napoleon from the Outlaws recalls, the two young leaders were able to come together and talk like men. Nas clarified that he wasn't dissing him in his song The Message, and Tupac promised to remove any disses aimed at Nas from the official album release. Unfortunately, Tupac died a week later before any edits could be made. During an interview with Steve Stoute, Nas reflected on his conversation with Tupac. "We had a great convo. He thought I was dissing him on the song The Message, but it ended with us realizing we're brothers, man. We're not supposed to go through this. I was scheduled to meet him in Vegas, so I was out there when he was in the hospital, praying for him to come through. With his sophomore album, Nas's strategic transition from an underground storyteller to a mainstream urban icon paid off. It was debuted as the #1 album in America on July 2, 1996, and went on to sell over 2 million copies worldwide by the end of the year, a far cry from Illmatic's debut numbers. This project also marked one of Dr. Dre's first collaborations with a New York rapper on the track Nas Is Coming. The two legends had previously met at a show in Los Angeles where Nas was performing his debut album Illmatic, and Dr. Dre came to salute him. Since then, they've always expressed their desire to work together. Dr. Dre, who had just departed from Death Row Records to establish Aftermath Entertainment during the height of the East Coast-West Coast beef, disregarded the coastal tensions and joined forces with Nas a year later to form The Firm, a hip-hop supergroup comprising AZ, Foxy Brown, and Nature. Other rappers were considered for the group, which in hindsight could have changed history. We had been trying different members out, Trackmaster's producer Tone revealed to Complex. We had 50 Cent in it for a little while. It just didn't work out, though we made a record. Indeed, long before 50 Cent skyrocketed to fame with Eminem and Dr. Dre in his corner, he was close to joining Nas's supergroup. However, 2 years later, in 1999, while 50 Cent was still an underground artist, his track How to Rob captured Nas's attention. Impressed, Nas invited 50 Cent to join him on his Nostradamus promo tour. As 50 recalled during an interview with MTV, Nas was the first person to do something for nothing for me. He allowed me to go on his promo tour. He wanted me to be out there. Finally, on October 21, 1997, The Firm released their studio album on Dr. Dre's label, which debuted at #1 and sold 147,000 copies in its first week. However, music critics had mixed feelings about the album, expressing concerns about its shift towards a mainstream sound instead of embracing the distinctive styles of the group members. During an interview, Dr. Dre shared his thoughts on why the album didn't meet expectations. When we were making that record, there were a lot of problems in the studio. I only spent maybe 4 days in the studio with the artist. Nas also provided his perspective. If we had Dre's full attention to do the entire project, things might have been different. We wanted Dre and Trackmasters to split the production. There were too many people involved, and it stifled the creativity. All right, folks, that wraps up today's episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. And don't forget to stay tuned for part 2. If you enjoyed this content and want to learn more about your favorite rappers, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell. Starting now, we'll be posting at least one long-format video per month, so there's plenty more to come. And for daily rap stories, don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Signing off, and catch you in the next one.